Darren is in Quarry Bay. Let's check in to see what he has to share.
For those of us in Hong Kong, look at this, lovely bit of sunshine. I might even get a tan today. But the truth of the matter is, the global average temperature has been on the rise steadily for many, many years now. And there are no signs that it's going to slow down or cool down. Even if you don't believe in the data, just look at the world around us. You've got the heat waves in Europe, you've got the Greenland ice sheets melting way faster than we expected, and 1/3 of Pakistan is underwater right now because of severe flooding. Now, I don't want to sound like an alarmist, but sometimes I do wonder, how will it all end? What can we do? Is it too late? Fortunately, there are people way more intelligent than I am who are also looking at the same problem. And today, I'm going to get a chance to speak with them, so maybe there is hope after all.
We hope that whatever these efforts are, the grass will be greener on the other side of it, because we can all feel the effects of climate change. We are in dire need of solutions.
So Jane, we're all here because we all believe in the same cause and we care about the environment. But I'm curious, how does the platform that you guys use, how does that help tackle climate change?
Well, the whole premise of the Starting Up Hong Kong Festival is to try and showcase Hong Kong's startup ecosystem, but at the same time to also connect international kind of players to Hong Kong. And we think with a platform like this, we can actually, talk about the really important issues that affect all of us, and we know that climate is one of those areas. Yeah. It's imperative, I think, on us to actually, develop a program that actually allows us to showcase what's been happening here, but also discuss the kind of technologies we can do to actually mitigate some of these developments.
So I know you guys look at all different types of startup.
We do.
But in terms of sustainability, sort of the elements of it, how important is it to you guys?
I think with Hong Kong having this mission to become carbon neutral in 2050, we want to prioritise companies with a sustainability angle. Companies that can help us to mitigate carbon emissions, help us improve the green buildings even further, reduce waste. All these kind of areas would actually be a real priority for us. We want to bring those companies to Hong Kong because we want those technologies to actually make a difference to Hong Kong.
How valuable it is, do you think, for Hong Kong startups to work with these overseas companies?
Well, the whole synergy between local startups plus that overseas kind of perspective, when you bring in all these different kind of ways of resolving problems and a different kind of international experience, you add that in with Hong Kong's local talent who are incredibly professional, magic happens, Hong Kong is very unusual in that 1 in 3 founders actually in the tech startup space is actually from outside of Hong Kong. Oh. And because of that, I think we've got a really strong startup ecosystem. There's 9 unicorns in Hong Kong, and for a small place, that's pretty high. We had 2 go public already as well. So I think it's really important that we try to encourage as much of that international collaboration with the local kind of population as much as possible, because you create stronger solutions and you create stronger companies.
But on the flip side, from the perspective of the overseas companies, why is Hong Kong so attractive? Why would they come here to do sustainability stuff?
Well, we all know Asia is really important in that whole carbon neutral discussion. And Hong Kong, by virtue of its geographic location, by the virtue of the fact that we're an international financial centre, it attracts a lot of companies to come here. We've got access to talent, to funding, to markets, and I think that's why a lot of the companies do actually prefer to set up in Hong Kong when they're actually looking towards like the GBA, the Greater Bay Area, as well as Asia.
Now, if we look at the bigger picture, where do you think that drive needs to come from first to encourage individuals and small businesses to do more sustainable startups and innovations? Where do you think that starts?
Well, I certainly think the government has a role to play, and the government has done this. It's done this by attracting talent, where you can actually have quick visa access if you've got an ESG kind of background, for example. It's also provided funding for people to reduce carbon emissions on a personal kind of level. There's also funding for people if they want to generate electricity through solar programs. So I definitely think the government has a role to play, but I think it's on the onus of everyone, actually, because climate change impacts all of us, and I really think that this is the biggest issue of our generation.
So from what you've seen so far, how do you see the future? Are you optimistic about the green innovations in Hong Kong?
I think so. I mean, you can just see today, you know, if you walk around, there's fantastic innovations being done, and some of them are from overseas founders, some of them are from local founders, and every one of them has got, you know, some new technology that can help to reduce carbon emissions or improve efficiency, upcycling, recycling, those kind of things. So, you know, I'm hopeful.
Yeah. And ultimately, with the Start Me Up, what sort of message are you trying to send to the overseas people, the overseas companies?
Well, just to say to them that we are here, we're a government department, we've got 30 offices around the world, we've got 9 different sector teams here in Hong Kong, and we're here to basically support their setup and expansion here in the city.
So Ben,
Yes.
can you tell me a little bit more about this event? What you guys are trying to achieve, and why do you think this event is valuable?
Yeah, it's very simple. I think you and I can share that Hong Kong's been relatively hot recently, record-breaking temperatures in July. Our team decided to, in 2 parts. The first part was to do a little bit of research on what's happening with, our temperature.
Yeah.
What we realized was from 1885 until 2021, Hong Kong's temperatures are continuing to rise. On an average decade basis, Hong Kong's temperatures are increasing by 0.13 Celsius. And that might be normal to us, and it might not be material. But what we found was very profounding was that in the last 30 years, Hong Kong's temperature actually increased by 3 folds. 1 full degree in the last 30 years. We really need to do something about it because there's some huge consequences.
Yeah.
Sea levels, compromised food systems, proliferating health issues. These are huge issues that are already foreseen by the IPCC. So because we have Impact Commons, our UN SDG accelerator that's looking at sustainability startups, we thought, hey, wow, we're actually seeing tangible startups that are working on new technology that's going to tackle the climate challenge. So we decided, hey, Hong Kong doesn't have a platform, but Hong Kong's a very global city. And why don't we create an event that sheds limelight on the issue, but also show people the light at the end of the tunnel that, in fact, there are technologies that we could be equipped with so that we can realistically hit our targets when it comes to climate.
Do you think you guys so far have achieved some of the things you set out to do? Are there any success stories you can share with us?
We're really focused on energy-saving technologies. So some of the use cases that we've been looking at are leveraging AI and digital twin solutions, where we're able to actually equip our chiller plants and to optimize our air conditioning in this building, for instance. We've seen significant reduction in terms of energy savings, and as well as for our tenants to be a little bit more educated on what temperatures they should be setting at. We've also used technologies that are more kind of on a construction site basis. So in a construction site, usually you see a lot of wood waste. And what we've been able to do is take that wood waste, turn them into biochar, and we put it into building plaster, and therefore sequestering carbon into our walls, which is a sort of a carbon capture sequestering type of solution. And if it's buried in this permanent building, we're doing our part in trying to drive that net zero strategy.
Wow, that's some really innovative stuff. What sort of difficulties or how much effort does it take to sort of bring these people together, bring the ideas together? Because it's all good to talk about it, but to actually practically make changes is another thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it requires education, right? The reason why we're doing this event and why we call it Impact within this decade is mainly because we need to halve our emissions by 2030. Yeah. That's a tall order for anyone. A lot of people go to tech events and they kind of understand the fact that climate change is around the corner, but they don't really understand what to do about it, right? So we felt that, hey, why don't we bring these 50 speakers globally and locally that are going to touch on several topics, net zero innovation, greener buildings, greener transportation, and how you actually could reimagine waste reduction and be able to actually apply that as an actionable takeaway as an individual, or if you're a business, to bring it back and try to apply that immediately because there's a sense of urgency. So we hope that through this event, we're able to kind of give that education, that exposure, and hopefully adoption. That's the whole purpose of this event.